Welcome to Exploring Axon, a podcast where we discuss Axon Framework, Axon Server, and their ecosystem. I am your host and the producer of this podcast, Sara Torrey. In this episode, I spoke with my guest, Sylvain Couddert, who is a fellow podcast producer and host. We talked about why he started recording podcasts and what he was trying to do with these podcasts and achieve from them, and how that journey basically has taken him in the past 4 years since he started it. We also talked about some of the topics within the world of technology, such as patterns, specifically domain-driven design, and what got him interested in that topic, and how that path has been for him. And we touched on a topic, not quite touched, we talked quite extensively about it, about the topic of being a rookie and learning and teaching, and what that relationship is like, and how that can enrich your life as you go on in a certain field, specifically technology for us, and how that has affected his ability to take on new challenges in his life, not just in technology, but life outside of technology as well. I hope you enjoy this episode, and let's have a listen. Hello, Sylvain. Thank you so much for joining me for this wonderful discussion. I'm really excited to talk with you. Could you please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us what you do and maybe where you are, if you'd like to share?
Hello, Sarah. Thank you for interviewing me. My name's Sylvain. I live in France, as you may hear from my accent, in a small village near Lyon, in France. What I do in life, I travel. I work in IT. I'm a developer, a freelancer. I work in this field since about 15 years, and has many other things that I can do in my life. I'm also a podcast creator, and that's quite strange for me to be on the other side. Usually I'm the one asking questions and I don't talk too much, but okay, right. Today that's a challenge for me. So let's go.
Yeah, of course. So can you tell us about your podcast? What is it about, and why did you decide to create a podcast?
Yes, that can be a long story.
We have a little time.
So my podcast, it's called Punkin Dev. There's something like a pun, a long story, another long story about that. But I created this 4 years ago. I'm starting the 4th year now. I created it like many people around the world. There's been some kind of coronavirus at the time, and before that, I used to go to meetups and conferences in real life, not online, and I learned a lot by this. I had many friends, social life that was cool, and with the pandemic, we from day to day, oh no, nothing more, stay at home, okay. And for me, everything stopped. All the way I had to learn anything on the tech life, I could not learn from any way. I was kind of lost because I tried online meetups, but I felt like I was in a work meeting. I couldn't listen very well. When we have whole day meetings and listening to people far away, and the same on the evening without having the possibility to have a lunch with friends. Really, that's what I felt, lonely and really lost, as I said. And at that time, my wife was a school teacher. And during the pandemic, she could not see her pupils. So one day she said, "Oh, I have an idea. I'm gonna publish a podcast. Every morning, they will have 5 or 10 minutes of my voice and what I would like them to do at home. And with that, maybe I can keep some sort of link with them." And so she asked me if I could develop something to provide this,
Yeah.
which I was happy to do. And after the pandemic, when we could have started other meetups, but it wasn't still working.
Yeah.
I asked myself, but podcast, maybe that's a good idea. In fact, to create other kind of links with people and to share knowledge and maybe to learn, since I consider that I don't know if maybe a physician like Niels Bohr or someone else said something like, you can't say that you really understand something unless you're able to teach it. And that was the way I told myself, okay, there are these knowledge. I think I know a little bit of each, but what if I can really teach them? I think I will understand them really better. So
Right.
that's why I started. I just went away for about 3 days. I took a microphone, my laptop, and I wrote everything what I have to do, and I created the podcast.
Yeah.
During the first year, I did almost every episode alone, just topics I wanted to share. I
So it was kind of like you pick a topic and then you
Yes,
dive into it for a little while, and then you learn about it, and then you talk about it basically
exactly.
to help others learn about it as well.
I started
Very
with
cool.
topics, technical topics, about simple. Man can consider it simple, but as unit test, what is a unit test? What is TDD? What is DDD? And so on. Sometimes it was just how to say. I wanted to express all the anger I had about a specific topic I had in the few last months about, oh no, this kind of people. So sometimes just
Yeah.
a mood, but
Right.
I had many episodes like this, and the greatest challenge I had for the first part of the podcast, sorry, it was at a point I challenged myself, and at every end of each episode, I said to my listeners, "See you next week."
Yes, I
So
think that's the biggest challenge.
yes,
That commitment, that time commitment. Yeah.
I didn't want to have this little sentence on the very beginning, but after 4, 5, 6 episodes, I say, yes, I think I can do it. So I said, "See you next week." On each week, I had to publish something.
Yeah.
For me, it was a kind of I wanted to have self energy. I wanted to yes, be more righteous in my weeks, having some goals that I can fulfill. It's not impossible. It's quite a challenge, but
Right.
I wanted this. So during the first years, from September to June, I published 42 episodes. So I think it's
Wow.
quite.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, yes. When I look
Yeah.
back, I say, oh, yes, that's really a lot. On the next years, I said, stop. I won't be able to do this again. That's too much, really. That was tough. And on the end, on the first season, on the first year, even alone, I had merely no more subjects I could speak alone. So I started interviews. Having on the first, they were just friends or colleagues that were coming and were just discussing about one subject, still about sometimes about testing, about team lives, about I don't know, maybe the role of architect and something like this. And on the years that came after, I did more and more of this format,
Mm-hmm.
having lonely episodes, lonely, alone,
Right.
just the exception, maybe one or two each year, no more. And
Yeah.
I
I
publish
think
no more
that's
than 15 a year. It's quite enough, I
that's
think.
still a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's there are a few things to consider. I think first of all, it's really brave to do episodes by yourself without a guest because um and it depends, I guess, on the topic because there's certain topics that we're more comfortable talking about, so it's a little bit easier. But I can understand if it's something that you're learning about and you're challenging yourself to also talk about it. Throw an episode by yourself and come up with the material and with the knowledge that. And I know for each of us, we are our own worst critic because we want to produce something that's valuable and we think that it should be at a certain standard or whatever that standard is. But I'm sure for you it must have been a lot of work to produce those episodes every week and talk about it by yourself or however long you were talking about it. So that's I applaud you on that. That's a huge challenge to begin with. And I think the other part of it is the time commitment that you mentioned, because a lot of times when I listen to an episode of a podcast, and now I look at it very differently from the time before I used to produce podcasts. Before that time, I would listen to somebody talk or guests talking or several people having a conversation, and my mind would be like, "Okay, this is a cool half hour, 45-minute conversation. That's great." Once you start actually doing it, there's a lot more to it, right? There's preparation, there's the conversation, setting the time with the guests to make sure you land on the same time on the day that you want to talk, and given time differences. For us, for example, we're 7 hours
Yes.
apart, so there are a lot of challenges. And then once that episode is recorded, then you have to go into editing and so on. So there's a lot that goes into it. So I'm really impressed that you did it every week that first week. The podcast that I've been doing, I started about 3.5 years ago, and my commitment to myself was every other week. And I didn't miss one. I took a break this year over the summer, but there were weeks that, especially if you have a guest that you've scheduled and they have to cancel for health issues or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're trying to scramble and find another person to talk to or another topic to come up with. So it's yeah, there's a lot that goes to that. So that's fantastic that you took on the challenge. Another thing that you mentioned that is interesting, and also I found it a bit challenging as well, is especially in the world of technology, talking about things is not as popular, so to speak. Because, and I'm saying in a matter of just audio recording, right? Because we're used to going to meetups and meeting in person pre COVID time. And now after COVID, we do have these virtual sessions, but a lot of times you get to see something on the screen, whether it's a presentation or a live demo or whatever it is. But in the format of audio only, it becomes a different challenge altogether because you have to talk about technical things without really showing anything for it. So, how has it been for you?
Um, I don't remember exactly when it was on my first tries, but uh, I think I choose topics that would be easier to talk without any visual help.
Right.
Um, how to say? In fact, when I started talking about technical subjects, I prefer I choose to speak about mainly practices, about general approaches. When I talk about TDD, it just I can't describe why TDD is. I'm not. I don't take the topics by on the side. You have to write this kind of code, name your method this way, use this kind of library. I don't go into this kind of details, and I can't. I don't think I can. I can speak about absolutely any subject with no visual help, but I think I'm gaining some kind of experience with all this, and I think there are more and more subjects that I can do with no visual help, with just my voice
Right.
on my voice, and that's all, on our voice, mine or other people's. But I think yes, there are more and more. And often I discuss with people that I would like to have in my podcast, and most of them are some kind afraid. Oh, can I really talk about that without? How can I do without my PowerPoint? You can do it.
Yeah.
You don't need. You don't need absolutely slide everywhere. Uh, it's a podcast. We can edit. You can fail. We can restart. There's no problem. Um, but we have to work on the way we address certain topic, because yes, we cannot do live coding. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Let's try other things.
Hmm.
I think that's really cool because a few years ago I started giving conferences, and on the first I started like everyone else by creating my slides and having so much text. Now, when I create a slide, mostly there's an image, a
Yeah.
word, a sentence maximum, but most of the
Hmm.
time just images or animation if I can show something that's relevant. But that was really a good exercise for me to produce so many content without anything visual. And
Yeah.
uh, I think now my conferences are better than they were before, because I can speak with no visual tools. And if when I speak there's a blackout electricity, I can go
Yeah.
talking, and that's no problem. I
No
can
problem.
make
Right.
plenty of things without it, and okay, it's cool. And really, uh, that has given me a lot of confidence in the way that I can talk, express, and explain things, even during walks when I work with teams, other dev, or even when I'm how to say when I want a job, I'm discussing with a manager on the ask questions, and I feel like. I'm at home. I mean, okay, expressing
Yeah.
myself is something normal for me.
Right.
It becomes, yes, it's nothing for people using their voice and speaking in front of people. It is something hard, difficult, and that costs lots of energy. For me, it is still
It's
much
become second nature
much
now. Yeah.
yes, except today, because in English my brain's
Ah,
run faster. But okay, I think I can
no,
do it, so let's go.
you're doing fantastic. Imagine this: I couldn't say a word in French if it was the other way around. So it's yeah, I completely understand the challenge of second language or a third maybe for you, but yeah. Anyhow, it's I think I also find it more effective for me personally when I'm looking at a talk where there are not a lot of words on each slide, because personally I get really distracted when I see a lot of sentences because I feel like I have to read through them and I'm trying to listen to the speaker at the same time, and it's really difficult. And I feel like I do a halfway job at either. I'm not hearing what they're saying properly. I'm not reading the slides before they move on to the next thing. So I think it is very effective and powerful when you just have a couple of words on the slide with an image, but you are telling a story. That storytelling part is important. Now, you did mention DDD a couple of times, and I'm curious because um, we sort of do function, Axonic does function a bit further into the world of DDD and CQRS and so on. Why that topic, and how did you get interested in it at all? Or did you find it something that was um, tangible at the very beginning? I remember you told me about a meetup that you went to, and your experience after that was interesting. So, can you share that?
Um, that's another long story. Um, I don't know how is the take health, I could say, in US or in other countries. But in France, we have a lot of legacy projects with which code that is so old and written with so few good practices. There are many developers that are exhausted of this,
Yeah.
and sometimes they even tend to change their job. They don't want to be developers anymore because they're really exhausted. Some are pushed to burnout or just really changing. I know people that stopped tech and they went in the mountain. Raising goats and salads and really that's no joke. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's told about the tone of joke, but for some people that's reality.
That's the
um,
reality. Yeah.
I had the same exhaustion because I passed the first 10 years working on old code bases that were so hard to maintain, to correct. And when I was on the verge of giving up during meetups, I crossed the way of other developers
Hmm.
that that had gone away beyond these problems. And when I discussed with them, what can you do to not add this? And they started using a lot of DD terms, like the XDDs, TDD,
Yeah.
DDD, and there are many BDD. First, I was what that things, and I
Uh-huh.
started to listen and to learn and to go on the internet, reading articles, reading books, seeing videos, and coming to other meetups that were dedicated to this. Coding dojos. I discovered coding dojos with kata. I don't know if it's the same word we use
Mhm.
in English, but uh, these exercises that come, the word comes from the karate world. Um I discovered them, and okay, seems cool. I'm learning new things. Maybe developing could still be interesting for me. And the more I dug into this, the more I discovered that I knew nothing about all it. And
Right.
I'm coming to DDD. Um, in my hometown in Lyon, we have a meetup that is dedicated to DDD. Once a month,
Wow.
we come to speak about DDD. And the first time I came in, there were a lot of people. That was the first event that this guy did for DDD, especially. And there were many people who already knew a lot about this. And
Okay.
I spent 1 or 2 hours understanding absolutely nothing. They were talking about DDD, about secure RS, about event driven, about BDD and bounded context, and what are these words?
It sounds familiar. Yeah, I've
I,
been there.
I was shocked and despaired. I went out and I said to myself, I don't get it, and I didn't came back for almost 6 months or 1 year because
Wow.
I told myself I cannot go and have evening like this where I don't understand a thing.
Yeah.
So I
And it just becomes overload of information.
yes, totally. So I started with the base.
Mhm.
I bought the DDD, the blue book from Eric
The blue
Evans.
book.
I
Yes.
started reading it, and it was a real pain. It's not, in fact, tech books are really interesting, but I don't like reading them. If when I read a
Mhm.
book, I want to read fiction. I want to read stories,
Right.
not tech
Yes.
life. That's
Not something abstract. Yeah.
yes.
To that point. Yeah, of course.
Even if there are many things so interesting, that's not really for me. But I challenged my face. Okay, do it. I read some parts that was still hard. I didn't get it, but with a few I had read, I came back to the meetup, and once a time I said, "Oh yes, I've read something about this. Can we discuss?
Mhm.
Oh, I'm starting to get this small points since our bounded context. Yes, I think I can try to understand ubiquitous language. Oh, no, I don't have this one. Okay, so you say if I don't have this one, I don't really understand the other one. Okay, let's go back to work.
Mhm.
And as cycle, I started learning and I discovered that GDD is a wonderful toolbox that can help address uh, problematics in tech lives, in project or in software industry, in so many ways. In the way code is written, in the way code is in the way we think code before even we even write it.
We start writing, yeah, of course.
Really, I like this, and I think I really believe it's. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I strongly believe that all these tools can really help us to make our industry better and stop having such people who don't work in tech have an awful image of us. Oh, you're information. Oh, bug. Thank you. I'm bug. In my life, yes, I produce bug. Yes, that's mainly what I do, but I try to produce less and less. But yes, that's what we do, and we're not good at it, I think. And I really think DDD can be a way to be better at this. Can be
Yeah.
better at giving users what they want and what they deserve. Know what we could try to do, and
Yeah, become better at it. And I think one of the things that DDD helps with that is making those business requirements a little bit more clear before starting to code. So, as you mentioned, the process starts quite a long time before we even sit on our IDE and just start writing. And what you mentioned about producing bugs, it kind of makes me chuckle because a lot of times those bugs come from not just code errors or something that didn't, work in the testing process or what have you, but the old joke of it's not a bug, it's a feature. A lot of times comes because of those unfinished requirements or unclear requirements that come from uh, the business side, or we think come from business side, but we have our own interpretation, and then the business side has its own interpretation, which brings us to the ubiquitous language, right? So those are important things, and I think important, as you beautifully mentioned, the toolbox gives us certain tools, and you can pick and choose which areas you want to focus a little bit more on. There are times that I've heard some folks saying, bounded context, we don't get it, we don't want to use that. That's fine. It's okay, fine. You can start the project by creating a uniform language between various departments of a company or various parts of a project. Start with that, and then start defining which context are you talking about, and then define your bounded context, and so on and so forth. So you can take bite-sized pieces, just like your learning went through, right? You understood some parts and some parts didn't make sense, so you go back and you dive a little bit deeper into it, and like, I have that aha moment and it makes sense, and now I can implement. So I think it's really cool that you went through that. And part of the reason you started the podcast was, um, of course, that feeling of loneliness, which we all felt during the pandemic, and a lot of frustration that was coming from not having the kind of life that we did have prior to COVID, or wanted to have and continue on having, and all of a sudden everything was stopped. But um, another thing that you mentioned when we had our first conversation was the teaching aspect of it. You wanted to help others understand some of the things that you were also trying to learn, and through these podcasts you were trying to help them learn about those topics, or if they already knew about those topics, get them excited to dive a little bit deeper into that. um, and with that, we were also discussing a little bit about being a rookie in parts of the field, right? Not knowing everything about it, like yourself, when you were learning about DDD and some of these other patterns. Um, Talk to me a little bit about feeling like being a rookie after being in this field for a really long time and feeling like, gosh, I don't understand this. And what do I do? I don't want to look like I'm failing or I'm not succeeding in something that so many others seem to be thriving at. So, how do you deal with that challenge and those feelings? Do you feel those feelings, or is it just kind of like, well, I don't know about it. I'm just going to learn?
I always feel like I'm a rookie for so many things. In fact, even I'm talking about GDD, but I have friends that are just knowing so much about it. I think I know so small part of it compared to them. I feel like I'm still a rookie, but I'm not that much. And sometimes you could call this thing some kind of imposture syndrome. That's
Yeah.
the good name.
Imposter syndrome. Yeah.
But I think it's still a good thing to still consider yourself as a rookie on many things. For my part, I mean, just me. I'm happy with that. I feel like a rookie on many things. This has some how to say. I'm losing my words. Sorry. It's cool to be a rookie since okay, you have many things to learn, and that's a good news. Since I have things to learn, my brain gets stimulated, and I think I can go on with this work for years. If I know everything and I have nothing to learn, I think I'm gonna get depressed, really,
Right.
or maybe just too much proud of myself. I don't find the word. Maybe condescendent. Yes, can say that.
Yeah,
But
too full of yourself, maybe.
full of
Yeah.
myself, yes. I wouldn't want to be like that. And considering myself as a rookie helps me sorry, to not to be yes, too full of myself and being such an horrible person. And in the same way, still thinking as of myself as a rookie, I think maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm thinking the way I talk, but I think I can be a better teacher. Things, okay, I'm a rookie. People are also rookies, and I don't forget I had to struggle with things. I must not have this kind of master problem that is expanding all what is knows. Even it's not to be a bad person, but sometimes we don't think about it. We use many words, we don't even think about them. But keeping in mind, okay, I'm a rookie, I'm not the only one. There are people, we have all degrees of knowledge about things, and sometimes there are young developers in teams that don't know many things that I know, but it works in the other way. They're just out of school and they just learned something that I mostly forgot because I was in school 15 years ago, and brain forgets many things. So okay,
or even a brand new technology that they bring with them, right?
Also, yes, and that's I think that's quite exciting about this job and all the tech. It's changing, it's challenging every day. Sometimes I'm tired of seeing all things that I don't have time to learn because I'm 40 years old and I have a family. I have many hobbies. I can't have every evening working on tech, but
right.
Okay, it's cool. I can't know everything, but still, even actually, that's what I'm trying to do. I want to work with teams where I don't know the stack. I'm mostly .NET developers, but I think myself, actually, I want to work with Java teams. For example, I don't really know Java. I know a little bit, but I'm sure I can bring some good practices and think to them. So at this time, I'm struggling to find people that will not be shocked to see what you haven't done 10 years of Java. Now you want, let's try it and
Oh,
let's see.
you can talk to anybody in our team, and they would be super happy to help you on that road because, yeah, we are. I think I'm biased, of course, because I work with them and I do enjoy them. But I think we do have a lot of really good developers who are also humble, that they feel like this is a great challenge because, as you mentioned, it's impossible for each one of us to know everything. And on the same token, they may not know much about .NET. So that's kind of a two-way street. You can offer something to them, they can offer something to you, no matter where you are or which developers you work with. And I think what you mentioned about being a rookie at everything, I call myself a rookie for life because even if I know a specific topic in my mind really well, I always find myself that there's still something about it that I had no idea or had never heard before. And it was such an interesting experience for me when I started my teaching life a long time ago. I think I mentioned in our last conversation, I was a music teacher in my previous life. And when I was going to school, when I was going to university and working on my master's degree, I was teaching the entire time. As I learned more about music and about the things that I was becoming, um, I use this term funny, a master in it. Um, I'm becoming proficient in it. I kept running into more and more instances of my students telling me something that made me think, huh, I never thought about it that way. Oh, that's an interesting way to do it. Oh, how interesting. And it wasn't like we were talking philosophy or anything like that. I was teaching piano for the most part to young kids. And I found myself learning so much from these little kids. And the more I was teaching, the more I was learning from them. And it was really a cool experience. And it energized me a lot because it's always funny with kids, especially. They're just so honest, so brutally honest that they just come to you and they're like, no, that's not right. Or I don't want to do it that way because it's just silly. It doesn't make sense, and they just change the whole thing and do it their way. And you're like, oh, that actually makes perfect sense. Why didn't we do this, in college? And you learn so much from them. So I think being a rookie is a wonderful thing because you don't have expectations of yourself to be an expert in anything. You're challenging your mind to think and to do things outside of the box sometimes even, which is really nice. Um, so with your podcast going forward, what are your future goals and what are your um, next steps that you want to achieve?
Um, oh, difficult question. Why do I want to achieve? In fact, it's difficult since we're on the beginning of September, and
Mhm.
I achieved the most greatest goal I could never dreamed of last weeks on the podcast.
Yeah.
Before we talked about creating context, not relying on visual tools. In fact,
Hmm.
3 years ago, 3 weeks ago, uh, I could interview a woman named Viviane Lalande. You might not know about her, but in France, she's quite known. She has a YouTube channel, and she's talking about science.
Hmm.
Like many other people, but it's been 10 years since she started
Wow.
talking about science, about physics, about many things. And she has a secondary channel where she's talking about how she likes to transmit science. I don't know the word, but we talk in French. We talk about vulgarisation, bringing knowledge to most people, not to
Hmm.
academics people, but to everyone. And
Right.
there are many meta knowledge. I don't know how to say this, but there are many knowledge and skills that can be helpful to achieve this. And I've listened so many times when she's talking about this, and maybe last June or July, I say, okay, I want to talk with her about this. I just sent a
Nice.
mail, and in fact, she said yes. And for me,
Fantastic.
that I have my listeners, I can call them about hundreds people,
Hmm.
maybe thousands about over a month, but that's its kinds of numbers. For
Yeah.
her, she has more than 500,000 people that are following her on YouTube. For me, she's
Oh,
just
wonderful.
huge. I
Yeah.
mean, and I could speak with her directly and have a podcast. I was
Yeah.
so proud, so happy. In fact, somewhere uh, people didn't listen it too much because maybe
Hmm.
it's a topic that is interesting me more than other people, but I don't care. That was purely for me, and
Yeah.
for me, it's really a great achievement. And
Nice.
I'm going on with this, and I want to interview people that uh, maybe are not from tech, but that can bring things into tech, their own lives, their own skills.
Hmm.
I like tech when the tech world. I like it when I can have parallel with other topics and skills. That's what you were saying with music. I'm a musician too. I like
Nice.
many sort of arts, and this year, last week, I started learning cellos. And formerly, I was a guitarist and learned piano.
Nice.
I'm a singer, but this is totally new. But I stay a rookie. But even if I'm a rookie, I have knowledge. I'm a musician. I can read music. I understand music. That's giving me tools to progress easier,
Yeah.
faster. I'm 40. Everything starting to become slow with
Oh,
the aging,
no, no,
but
no.
I really like
It's the
this.
age of wisdom starting now.
Yes, yes, I like that. That's exactly. But really, I like these things, and I like to speak about about topics that can cross tech subjects, but go through. And one conference that I produced last year was about voice. How
Mm.
do you accept your voice? There are many people that don't like their voice, and what I was saying before, that I'm so glad I can speak easily. I said, okay, there are people that are better than me on a pure tech point of view, but I have work that they don't have. I have even money that they can't have. Why? And in fact, that's what's the point. Voice. Okay, I'm. It's easy for me. I learned speaking, in fact, singing in front of many people. On the
Mhm.
beginning, it was difficult. Now it's not a problem. So okay,
Okay.
this is my past. That was hard, a struggle. This is what I can say, and it can benefit people in the tech. And I would like to come back to the goals I would have. I want to go further into this direction, taking parts of other things and bringing all this into tech. This talk about voice, we are working with a friend who is into theater, and
Hmm.
he would like to. We tried once, but to mix what you can do about posture and express, and me from the voice part, and we want to have things like this. And I also I use a podcast to have this, but I'm currently learning to be a coach for people who are willing to give conferences but never did it.
Mm.
And
Right.
I think all my experience with podcasts and discussion with Vivian, as I told, I think this is cool to share this. I don't want to keep it
Yeah.
for myself. I will go on sharing this. And for now, I just say for the podcast, The fact that I can still publish new episodes and there are still people listening to me, it's so cool. On the first step, I did it for myself, and it's a pure coincidence that people started listening to it. I published it. I told people,
I'm sure there are a lot of good stuff that's why people are still listening to it. Yeah.
But for me, it's on the first part, I couldn't understand at all why they're listening to me. What? Okay, that's cool. I still don't get it, but it's cool. I'm really happy with that. And as long as people are listening and I have things to learn, share, people that want to come in. This year, I have so many. Last year, I struggled to find people that would come. I really struggled to find subjects and topics. And this year, I struggled with my calendar. It is awful. I have
having too much now.
Yes, it's a we call that a rich problem.
It's a good problem, exactly.
But really, I really enjoy it, and I have people that are going to come to talk about things that are so cool. I'm excited to provide this thing to people. Really, that's cool. So, what I can wish for the podcast, just as long as I can go on, that's cool. Maybe next year I won't have any ideas and I will stop, and perhaps I will. I don't know. Let's see and what life has for me.
I think it's fantastic because I think having a vast number of topics to talk about is really cool, and I'm sure that a lot of things that you talk about resonate with your listeners, and that's why they continue listening and come back for more. So many congratulations on it, and really cool that you got to talk to somebody that you were excited to talk to, and they were willing to come and have a conversation very easily, and that's really awesome. It always feels really nice when you kind of look up to somebody and you're like, yeah, it would be cool to talk to this person, and you go and reach out and they say yes, it's fantastic. And yeah, and that's another thing that I try to remind myself most of the times. And I think part of it is also going back to being a rookie is important. If I don't know a lot of people, or if I haven't seen him in a million conferences because I'm sort of new in the field of technology, and I go reach out to somebody and they say yes, and then go talk to a colleague or a friend in the field of IT, and they're like, oh, that's so cool, this person is big. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that, but that's really great. So that's always a nice surprise. But I wish you the best of luck going forward, and I'm so happy I got to talk to you, and I hope that your interests and hobbies become even more. And I always think of us as human beings, we're not one-dimensional. We always do have several things, and as we age, our interests change, and we become really excited about other things that we didn't know. One of the things that I look back and it makes me smile is when I was younger, even as a teenager in my early 20s even, I thought I was the worst person to draw anything. I couldn't even draw a car. My houses looked like a box, and that was the best I could do with drawing. In my 30s, I discovered I can actually draw, and I do a pretty dang good job at it. So these are really, really exciting things that we find out about ourselves going forward. And bravo to you for challenging yourself. And I think everybody who's listening to this should challenge themselves to do something new and learn something new, whether it's in technology or otherwise. So again, thank you so much for being here and giving me some of your time today and sharing your story. And I hope to have an opportunity to talk to you about other topics another time.
With my pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to have a podcast in English about what I do. That's really an honor for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the day, and hope to talk to you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you for listening to my talk with Sylvain. I hope you enjoyed it. Please join me next time for other interesting topics with wonderful guests. Until then, I wish you well and happy coding.